Hello and welcome to an all-new episode of Anime Brain Freeze. We are your hosts, jamming in the summertime.
I am John.
And I'm CC, and this is the show where we review all the anime series from the previous season we did and didn't watch start to finish. Once again, it's time for an all-new anime season here on ABF. We wrapped up our shows from... I don't know if that abbreviation is taken by someone else, but whatever. We wrapped up...
Screw it, we'll take it for ourselves.
Yeah, exactly, we'll take it. We wrapped up our shows from winter last episode, and now we're gonna jump into spring with a truly gigantic review, figuratively speaking. But first, of course, we have to take a quick look at all the shows from the hot new summer season that just zapped onto our screens, and we'll do just that in our sneak peek right now. So again, we got a bunch of new shows that we checked out this time. I think last time, John, you had more than I did, and the one before that I had more, and now this time around I have more again. So I don't know how we do it, but it's always switched for each new season.
Yeah, I feel like I had maybe one or two more than the last time around, and this time we've got 4 or 5 on me.
Yeah, because I got crazy and just checked out even the mediocre sounding shows. And what good that did me. Anyway, I think we should start with the ones where we are sure that we're gonna immediately drop them. And why don't you tell us about the shows that you only watch one episode of and we're like, nah, that's enough for me.
Sure. Let's start off with a real winner, like Hajimete no Gal. So it's all about this guy Junichi and his loser friends, like really losers, like, oh my fucking God, you wouldn't believe that they want to find love and get with a girlfriend, and then they kind of egg on Junichi to ask out this girl Yukana, who is like the trendy, popular girl, and for some reason she says yes, and they go on to form a relationship. And
so it's a fantasy anime,
and there's nothing charming about it because all of the male characters anyway are just disgusting horn dogs, and like what really killed it for me was there's one character who's like going on about elementary school kids, and I'm like, fuck no. Sound the sirens now. I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Welcome, take a seat. Better jump the ship before the show goes somewhere really atrocious.
Like I was going back and forth with some guy about this on Twitter, and we were both of the same mind. Like I said, it feels like it wants to channel the humor of stuff like Seito Kaiyaku Indomo and Galko-chan, and it just can't do it. It like just shits itself and says, well, here, this is what you get. Here's what you got. And I'm like, nope, bye. The other show that I dropped was Nanamaru Sanbatsu, Fastest Finger First.
That sounds ridiculously dirty.
Yeah, the name sounds that way. But it's about this kid, Shiki Koshiyama. He's a bookworm, doesn't have many friends. That's going to become a theme in another show I'll talk about later on. Mm-hmm. On the first day of school, he's urged to try joining the quiz club so he can put his book smarts to the test because, he's very book smart, he's very intelligent, and his goal becomes to apply his knowledge to these quiz bowl competitions and to answer questions as quickly as he can. And the actual name of the show, Nanamaru Sanbatsu, is literally translates to 7 right, 3 wrong, which is, I guess, a Japanese quiz bowl rule where you win if you get 7 right and you lose automatically if you get 3 wrong. So, it's kind of neat how they work that into the name like that. What kind of killed it for me is, number one, it's kind of boring, which is unfortunate because I thought it would be fun. And number two, one of the voice actresses for one of the other characters is just reading the lines off the page, and there's no emotion. It's like I sat there and I got to the end of the second episode and I was like, can I take 10 more episodes of this very subpar performance? No, I can't.
That's a shame.
It really put me off so much that I was like, nah, I can't keep going.
That also happens very rarely. I feel like Japanese voice actors always are on a really high level and do a really good job. I can't remember an anime where I was like, man, this voice work really sucks. So,
yeah, and I mean, I feel that way too, but I'm just watching it and I'm like, her delivery is so just flat all around. And she's like a key main character, and it's like, Is that part of her character, that she's like so good at these quizzes that she's like, okay, I can just dish those answers out without a problem? It's, Well, I mean, in the animations they show, she's very emotive and whatnot.
Oh, okay.
So
right.
There is a clear mismatch.
Okay, well, that's a shame,
unfortunately, like I said, this seems like it could be, at least interesting, and then it just turned out to be not what I was hoping for.
What's the one question though? One last one. What's up with the fast finger thing? Do they have to like quickly raise their hands or something, or hit a buzzer?
Yes, the fastest finger refers to being able to buzz in as quick as you can to answer questions.
All right.
One of the things that they emphasize, and I think was actually kind of interesting, was they talk about where is the cutoff on each question where you can figure out you already know the answer.
All right. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's some made-up bullshit statistic, but they say in there, the difference between being able to buzz in to give a correct answer is something like 0.01 seconds, and that sounds like a made-up stat, but
it probably is.
But you never know. It could be. I'm not a statistician.
Mm-hmm. Good for you. Good on you. I don't know. Anyway, okay. I also dropped a few show instantly. John had 2, I have 3. So the first show I checked out and was like, no, not for me, is Dive, which, as the name implies, is free, but with divers instead of swimmers. So I like free a lot, and I'm always willing to give shows a chance who seem to go for the same bullet points, even if I'm not their target audience at all. But sadly, this has neither, as interesting or fun characters as Free, nor is it as well animated. Free was animated by KyoAni, and,
KyoAni is a pretty high bar to beat. I give them a lot of shit, but they set the bar pretty high.
Yeah. The diving scenes, which should be the visual highlight of the show, are especially lackluster. And that's where your showstopper moments should be, like when they dive and do their complicated choreography in the air, and the moment where the guys jump off the board and the diving, it only takes a few seconds, 1.5 seconds or something until they hit the water. Yeah, but you don't have to actually make the scene that fast, because then that's not interesting. Put your slow-mo there and show the difficult choreography and the characters, having trouble doing that and everything. So, I don't know. It's just not interesting. It's boring. And the rest is just standard fare. There's, this guy trying to be a diver and trying to be as good as his idol diver. And then he's got a girlfriend that, for some reason, he didn't meant to, be in a relationship with or something. I didn't really pay attention from a certain point on because it was just so boring and visually uninteresting. It was like, okay, it just, I don't care. There's nothing here for me. I mean, if you just want to see some pretty boys with speedos jumping into the water and nothing else, maybe give it a look. But if your interests go beyond simple bare bones Fujoshi bait, it's pretty safe to say you can skip this one. So the next one is, I don't know how to pronounce this. I didn't look it up. It's 18IF, 18IF.
Yeah.
So this is about a boy named Haruto who wakes up in the dream world of a girl who in real life is suffering from sleeping beauty syndrome. So is basically in a coma. And in her dream world, she acts as a witch who is always in search for the cutest things or something, and transforms creatures in her dream and everything, and is like this despot and everything. And to wake her up from her, eternal sleep, Haruto has to kill her in the dream world. So all this is explained to him by another girl who claims to be his sister, and a guy in the form of a weird cartoon cat who apparently is researching dream worlds on his own. So all this is really weird stuff, and that made it interesting for me, like reading the setup and everything. Gave me a bit of Persona 5 vibe, because that's a game I just played, and it's also about like a cognitive world where you basically go into the inner like thoughts and mind of characters, and those worlds are created by the characters unconsciously and everything, and have like weird distorted versions of themselves and their surrounding and the people surrounding them and everything. So I was like, maybe this is something like that in anime form, and it kind of is. Yeah, it kind of is, but not. It's not really interesting. If the dream would look creative and cool, I would have stuck with it. But at least I would watch a few more episodes to see where it goes. But it's animated by Gonzo. Ooh. So, yeah, it looks really boring. It looks really flat. Like, the shading is, like, really flat. And like I said, I just played a massive RPG that does a really good job at playing around with this concept of a cognitive world. Probably does a much better job than this show ever will, at least judging from the first episode. So I'll pass on this one. If the setup sounds interesting to you, I don't know. Maybe check out the first episode, but I'd say play Persona 5 instead. I guess. Anyway, moving on. So the last show that I immediately dropped is Altair, Record of Heroic Deeds, or I forgot the full title.
Yeah, Record of Battles or something.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember kind of looking at this before it started airing, and in the interest of keeping my sanity, I decided to not watch it before it started. Yeah, because I am checking out so many other things.
Yeah. Well, I was interested in it just in terms of setting, because it's set like in. I don't know if it's a fictionalized version of Turkey. I don't know how much true history stuff is in there, but that's just a setting that doesn't get used so much in anime, and I'm always on the lookout for those where it's like, okay, this is not another anime set at a Japanese high school. This is, somewhere that is different. So, and that is different. The problem is, we already had that a few seasons ago with A Heroic Legend of Arslan, which was set in a fictionalized version of Persia. And, this is also kind of in the same vein. Young boy who just has become the youngest pasha in Turkey. And, he tries to stop his country from slipping into war. And, he's like kind of not really a genius, but he's really clever and everything. And that's really, there are some really, really close parallels to Arslan. It's a perfectly fine show. It's just the characters just don't seem as interesting and colorful as the ones in Arslan. And I like the setup and the designs in Arslan more as well. So yeah, I'm not gonna stick with this one. It's more well animated though, which is not surprising considering Arslan was done by Leiden Films and this one is done by MAPPA. But I don't think that will be enough to keep me around, because the shows are just so similar, and in every other department except for the animation, I just found Arslan to be more interesting. I doubt I get another season of that, because that was not a very successful show. But still, it's like, okay, if I'm gonna, dive into that story, I might as well wait for another season of that, if that ever happens. But I've got so much other stuff to watch. I don't really need another one of the shows of those. But if you were like, man, I didn't check out Arsenal because the animation looked so jank, but I'm interested in the setting, maybe give this one a shot. I don't know. It looks fine. It's just not. I don't need another one right now, even though the setting is, kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, my experience with Arslan was I decided on a whim to pick up the Dynasty Warriors clone, and I played through that, and it was pretty good. So
yeah. Like I said, the characters are cool. I like the character designs by, Hiromu Arakawa. I don't know. I always fuck up her name, but, artist behind Full Metal Alchemist. So, yeah, that was, aside from the crappy animation, that was a good show. And, yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe check out that instead. But, like I said, I'll tell you, it's not a bad show or anything. It's just, I've seen this before pretty recently. And there are enough other shows to watch, so yeah. All right, another show I forgot to mention. Not 3, 4 shows. Sorry, I already got confused. 4 shows I instantly dropped. So the last one I instantly dropped was Action Heroine Cheerfruits. Did you watch that?
I thought about it, but I just didn't pull the trigger on checking it out.
Okay, so I only checked out like 10 minutes, then skipped through the rest. It's a perfectly fine show. It's about, in this universe, basically, towns and prefectures are represented by these live-action tokusatsu heroine actors who perform stage plays, and it's all for the sake of revitalizing tourism and the town's economy and everything. So when one of the most popular heroines has to cancel her appearance in one of those small towns, two girls that live there take it upon themselves to organize a stage performance for one of the girls' little sister, because she's like this big fan of the heroine who couldn't make that appearance and everything. So, as expected, shit goes awry, but they leave such a big impression that they are asked to become the real heroine representatives for the town. So, it's all really nice and cute and slightly funny, but it's just not my field of interest. And I got bored pretty quickly. And it's just, cute girls doing, cute things and, being nice and everything. But it's just not, okay, this is not what I look for in anime story. I'm sorry. If you like stuff like Sakura Quest, which that reminded me of, albeit with a lower budget and in this case, maybe check it out. Like I said, it's perfectly fine. It's just not for me. Just not that interesting to me, but it's probably not a bad show. So yeah, okay, I'm done with my drops. At least for now. You have some shorts you want to mention.
Yes, just a couple of quick ones. The first one is the savior of anime has returned, my friends.
You have teased this.
The 9th season of Teekyū is upon us.
Which sounds like a lot, but considering these episodes are really short, that's probably...
Like 2 minutes long.
Yeah. Does that amount... Wait, I suck at math. Does that wrap up to like a one full 12-episode season? No.
Yes. Well,
yes?
No, not... maybe in terms of minutes, but I mean like a full season of Teekyū would be about a full episode of any other show.
Okay, all right.
So we're almost to a season's worth of a regular show.
Great.
Of Teekyū. We're getting there. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
So is it still going strong, or
it will never change. It is the same as it was from moment one. Just non sequiturs and just stupid, goofy shit. Because I mean, the story is supposed to be about girls in a tennis club, and they don't play tennis. Why would they ever do that?
Okay. They just goof around.
Basically.
All right.
The other one I checked out is Aho-Girl.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, that name is very descriptive.
The name basically tells you all you need to know, but for the sake of explanation, it's all about this girl named Yoshiko Hanabatake, and she's an idiot. Just a 100% moron, like consistently getting zeros on all her tests. Even the multiple choice fill-in bubble sheets, just all zeros. And it's up to her childhood friend Aruku Akutsu to keep her in line.
Okay. So
this show is just an excuse for Aoyuki and Tomokazu Sugita to yell at each other like fucking idiots. Well, and, I mean, the show is a one-trick pony. It's not going to change what it is. I don't see any major like startling revelations coming. It's just goofy for the sake of being goofy.
But it's not irritating or anything. Like it's like generally entertaining, or is it like?
I get a chuckle out of it. So we're 2 episodes in, and I'm like, yeah, all right, I'll keep going.
Okay. Well, since I have apparently much more shows than John, we're probably from now on doing like 2 shows from me and 1 from John, and see how that ends up. If we come out at the end like evenly, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, so we will have some overlap, so we'll see what happens.
Exactly. So that happens too. So anyway, the first show I checked out, and I'm maybe gonna keep, I'm not sure yet, is Welcome to the Ballroom. So it's about a boy named Tatara Fujita, who, through a series of incidents and misunderstandings, is introduced to the world of ballroom dancing, and finds out that he's kind of bewitched by the presence and atmosphere surrounding those professional dancers and everything. So he asks to be taught by one of the top dogs in the dance studio he ends up in, and he gets unexpectedly close to a girl he is interested in and who made him go to the studio in the first place. So I immediately checked this out because it's a production IG show, and as expected, it looks really good. If you can ignore the sometimes freakishly long necks on the characters, because they do these weird dancing poses where they really stretch out their backs and necks, and it looks really weird sometimes, like it's aliens. But otherwise the designs are super crisp, and they're done by the guy who adapted the manga designs of Haikyuu to anime. Huh. And I really like those designs, and so I like these too. Like the character designs in general are really cool, and it's a good-looking show. The dancing scenes are great. The opening looks fantastic. Like, man, it's an all-around visual delight, except for those necks. I think it's a pretty safe bet to say this is going to be like a love triangle between Tatara, his male coach Kaname, and the girl Shizuku that he's interested in, because she's the dance partner of his coach, I think. But maybe the competitions will be interesting enough to keep me watching. I'm going to give it the usual 3 episodes and see where it leads. I'm not sure. I'm not that interested into just bare bones romances. But I don't know. Maybe there's a bit more to that. Like I said, maybe the competitions are interesting and everything. And on a visual level, the show is really good. And I mean, shows have to be kept around with less, so we'll see. The next one I checked out, also visually very appealing, is Katsugeki Tōken Ranbu.
Oh, yeah.
It's a show about a time traveler called Saniwa from the year 2205, who uses the spirits of legendary weapons to battle the so-called historical revisionists, who sent their army through time to change important historical events in their favor. And Saniwa does that by turning the weapon spirits into hot bishy boy warriors, and sends them through time to find and destroy the battalions of the retrograde army. So this is done by Ufotable, and that means it's a good-looking show. If you recall one of our previous episodes, pretty much the only thing that made me stick with their adaptation of Tales of Hysteria were the visuals. And if I stick around for this show, it's probably the same, because everything else felt really by the book. I mean, possibly there are some fantastic story hooks, and maybe we get some good characterization in the future, but I wouldn't count on it. On the surface, this also looks like, it's, made for the crowd of free and dive and everything.
Well, there is a reason why Tōken Ranbu is referred to in shorthand as Sword Boys.
Yeah, exactly. This is based on an online card game. So, like I said, I'm skeptical. I mean, I have been surprised before, but I'm going to remain, those shows, I think Rage of Bahamut was also based, I don't know if it was based on a card game, but it was based on a mobile game. But it also turned out to be a really cool story with a really neat story and good characters. So I'm always willing to give a show the benefit of the doubt, despite its origin. But yeah, I'm going to stay skeptical for now. Maybe, again, the visuals alone will keep me engaged, like they did with the Hysteria, but we'll see. I don't know yet. It looks good. That's all I can say for now. So yeah, John, what's the first show that you maybe, possibly, probably going to keep around?
Well, I'm only 1 episode deep into it because it started late. Actually, there's a couple shows on my list like that, but anyway.
Yeah, there's also a lot of shows that haven't even started yet, like the Marvel shows, for example, like that Avengers thing and the, I forgot, the Revolution or what it's called.
Yeah, I forgot that really hasn't started yet? Wow.
No, the first episode is going to hit in, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks or something. I don't know what's up with that, but...
Wow.
So, anyway.
The first one I decided to look at is Princess Principal.
Oh, yeah. I also checked out that show.
Oh, okay, cool. So it takes place in 19th century London, and there's this wall that divides the east and west sides of the Kingdom of Albion. So, you can bring in all your Berlin Wall parallels right from the get-go.
Huh.
So on one side of the wall is the kingdom proper, and on the other side is the Commonwealth. And there are these 4 girls that are enrolled at the Queen Mayfair School, and they engage in espionage to help ferry defectors over the border. And they operate with these code names. As far as I can tell, we haven't really learned their actual names. I think that's kind of neat. Mm-hmm. They got all sorts of gadgets and whatnot going on. Like they had this access to this gravity-defying mineral, I believe, called caverite,
which is like the setup for the whole story. Why the country, like the Empire of Albion, is split, because it caused like this political unrest and everything. Because there was this power monopoly due to the resource of that mineral and everything. Yeah. It's interesting. It lends itself well to action-packed scenes and characters doing moves that they shouldn't be able to do.
Yeah. So, the first episode has them take you on a mission, but their client isn't completely truthful with them.
Yeah.
And the situation calls for the girls to change their methods, and certain things happen in ways that they weren't originally planning on. So I kind of feel like, just from the first episode alone, this is like the first spy anime I've watched in a long time that more successfully manifests what it's trying to do with itself than other ones. Like a while back, we watched Joker Game, and we felt like it was a muddled mess. And even though there were light elements of espionage, it just didn't really feel interesting. Whereas with this, we have these characters with these code names, and they're acting undercover, and they're trying to do all these crazy things. And I just feel like it, from this first episode anyway, it feels a bit more interesting.
Yeah, Joker Game had a much more realistic approach to the whole spy thing, while this is, the flashy James Bond version of spy thing, which makes it, just in terms of visuals and in terms of pacing and everything, much more interesting. Mm-hmm. And it's on the outside, it's a pretty cool steampunky spy action show, with a cool visual style and everything. This late 19th century stuff. The cars look cool and everything. It looks all very old. But what I learned about the show, which made me incredibly happy, which might be a downer for you though. Mm-hmm. It's apparently written by the guy who is responsible for one of my favorite trash fests in recent years, and that is Valvrave the Liberator. So for me, that is a reason to stick with that show.
It should be a reason for me to drop it, but I want to give it a chance.
Yeah, in the first episode, there are already some pretty good signs that this might become, this hilariously self-serious edgelord idiot drama I want it to be, but we'll see. Maybe it holds itself together. But I'm happy either way. I just, have this morbid curiosity where I'm like, when will this turn into one of Okuchi's usual, trash bags? Man, when is there going to be a guy who says, I'm going to part these bunch of students like Moses parted the Red Sea?
God, I can't get over that was what he actually said.
Yeah, I thought that was like, they took their freedom in translation, but no, that wasn't the script. Valvrave is a fantastic show.
No!
In a certain regard.
About Princess Principal, though, it's animated by Studio 3 Hertz, the same people what done Flip Flappers. So
yeah,
I'm hoping it'll at least be, very visually interesting going forward.
The first episode definitely is. So we got a lot of good-looking shows this season, I think. Like, really, we had last season too, but just the bulk of the shows I am interested in or I am willing to stick around for is because of their visuals, funnily enough. It's like, oh, this looks really cool. And Princess Principal, aside from, being a prospective, disaster, an interesting one, like a dumpster fire that I really want to see. It's also visually interesting. Yeah, I'm going to stick around, so we'll see where this goes. The next show I checked out is Clean Freak Aoyama-kun. So this is about this is sports anime, kinda. It's about a gifted soccer player who is also a super giant germaphobe, which sounds kind of dumb, and it is, but it's like this weird mix of sports anime and wacky slapstick comedy. I I really don't know what to think of that mix yet. I mean, the comedic timing is pretty good, and the football match scenes look good too, but I just don't know if that concept has, like, any serious lasting appeal as a running gag. And it seems like they're also trying to take the sports aspect seriously at the same time. I'm not sure this will work out in the long run. So I'm going to see where it goes for a few more episodes. I like sports anime, as everyone who has listened to this show for a while now knows, is pretty much aware of. And the first episode was entertaining enough to give the show a chance. But like I said, I really don't know if the show really knows where it wants to go. It seems a bit of muddled. But yeah, it was entertaining, so we'll see. The next show I checked out, and I think after that we're gonna go back and forth, is A Centaur's Life. Monster girls are still the rage. We had Monster Musume. We had Interview with Monster Girls. And this is another show that is like filled with certain kinds of monster people.
Seems to be the next big meme, apparently.
Yeah, apparently. This time around, no normal humans in the show. It's set in a world that is completely populated by different monster men and women. Where in the other shows, it was those monster people were always like this curiosity that's like, a recent rise of those creatures, and they try to integrate into human society. But this time around, it's no humans, it's just those monster people populating the Earth because evolution took a different course. For example, you got like cat people, dragon people, angel people, demon people. Really weird mix in terms of monsters. And of course, you got Centaur people. And our main character belongs to that category. There's not much to say about the first episode because it's basically a pleasant high school comedy with monster girls and boys. And the first episode was fun. It's separated into two parts, like Dragon Maid was. And, you got a story in the first part and then you get a little small story in the second part. And it's really pleasant. It's fun. But it also had like some kind of weird political undertones. Like there's a scene where people in suits basically like surveil a classroom lesson about history. And we also learned that centaurs were used as slaves in darker days of this world. I don't know if this is just general world building or this is going to lead to anything and the series will make like a hard turn sometime in the future. I kind of doubt it. But I'm interested to see if this has more substance to it than the setup makes you believe. But, if you're just interested in a light, very pleasant comedy with an unusual cast of characters just in terms of their appearance and how the jokes are constructed around that, you can imagine, a centaur girl having a bit of a different set of problems in her daily life than other characters have. Just in terms of her physique and everything. So yeah, it's fun. It's very, very light, very fluffy. I think just in terms of the comedy and everything, it might, be in your ballpark from what you've told me about the shows you enjoy. So maybe you check out the first episode or something if you want. But, that's all it is. It's just high school comedy with an, interesting set of characters and everything. For now, not much more. But we'll see. Maybe it will keep me around. I don't know.
Okay.
So, what's the next show you checked out?
So, speaking of high school comedies, the next up on the list is Gamers.
Yeah, check that out too.
With an exclamation point at the end, by the way. Don't forget that. So, it's all about this kid, Keita Amano, and we're going to call back to another show we were talking about earlier, who just started high school, doesn't have many friends. Yeah, okay. But he enjoys his time, casually playing games like visual novels and mobile games. One day he's browsing a game store when Karen Tendo, the cutest girl in school, approaches him and asks him to join the school's game club. At this point, it sounds a lot like wish fulfillment.
No kidding. Again, it sounds like a fantasy anime.
It seems like everything is coming up Keita until he discovers he's not the only one that Karen has invited to the club. Oops, your dreams were shattered, kid. So,
it's not the only problem, though.
This club's goal, isn't just to, relax, play games. They want to become MLG Pro, 420 no scope, 360 blaze it. Like there's one guy who's playing not Counter-Strike, and then there's a girl who's playing quite literally Guilty Gear Xrd Revelator. It's just straight up
Yeah. Do they give the name for that?
If you watch the ending credits, you see Arc System Works is in the sponsors.
Yeah, I wonder. I wonder if they actually mention like that. Actually, say that is really Guilty Gear, or if it gets a different name, like that Counter-Strike things too.
They don't need to, because they show like sort of a distance shot of the TV, and I was like, oh, it looks like they're trying to make it look like she's playing Guilty Gear, and then they zoom in and I'm like, nope, that's Guilty Gear.
Yeah.
Kind of like how, going back to Akiba Strip, they were like, Street Fighter V. No, it's just Street Fighter V. It's nothing else.
Yeah.
So, basically, Keita is like, yeah, I like games, but I don't want to be MLG Pro. See you later. And kind of, as far as I can tell, really offends Karen and hurts her feelings. And he goes back to basically playing not Grand Blue Fantasy on his phone with an online friend, and see how it pans out for him in the future, basically.
Yeah. It's again, wish fulfillment is like really... Yeah, I think it's really the core of this. Like, this is, the hottest, most popular girl in school who happens to be also a nice person, who also happens to be a gamer, as, the self-insert nerd slacker to spend time with her in her gaming club. And then he initially rejects her. What? Because he loves to be a filthy casual again and, is not into competitive gaming. I mean, I can understand that. Like, it's like if you have to make appointments to make your gaming and play games constantly, you can lose the fun in that in that hobby. So I can understand where he is coming from, but everything surrounding that is just like, it's so perfect. And also she apparently seems to be generally into him, because when he rejects her, she is like really upset.
She's like really broken up about it.
Yeah, and not because he wouldn't join her club. It seems like she's romantically interested into him. It's like,
I just kind of love that at the end of the episode, it seems like they're having two different conversations.
Yeah.
Good luck in the with the game club.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, geez, you done fucked up.
So yeah, but the comedy is not bad though, and like we mentioned, the gaming reference and Easter eggs are pretty cool, and yeah.
And I feel like, as far as a light novel, self-insert wish fulfillment, all of those things sort of goes. I feel like the characters aren't obnoxious or annoying or overbearing. Like I look at Keita and I hear what he says. I'm like, yeah, okay, I can see that being your reasoning for not wanting to join a club that just wants to be pro.
Yeah, he's a bit more relatable than other light novel protagonists. So,
definitely. Yeah. So I think I might keep her up. I'll at least watch another couple episodes, see how I like it.
All right. The next one. Woo! Wow. We're talking about how Princess Principal, I'm not sure that will turn into a dumpster fire.
Uh-oh.
But I'm sure this one will, because it already has, kinda. And that's called Vatican Miracle Examiner.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I hadn't heard too much about this, but oh, boy.
Yeah, super great. Excellent. The cast, the two main characters are Father Roberto Nicolas and Father Joseph Kohiraga. And they're special examiners employed by the Vatican to investigate the occurrence of possible real-life miracles all around the world. And when they are sent to a conservatory in Mexico to investigate a case of claimed immaculate conception, they get pulled into a nightmarish world of satanistic rituals and murder.
Jesus Christ.
So this show makes me very happy, because it's the top trash stash contender for this season. The setup itself is nothing special, but the execution is so fucking over-the-top, self-serious, and thus hilarious that it caused a lot of, probably unintentional laughter on my end. The only question for me is it going to stay as dumb and ridiculous throughout the whole series as it was in the first episode? Because then I'm going to stick with it. But if it, steps on the brake and tries to be, serious, slow, toned down, thriller, whatever, then I'm gonna jump ship. But man, so far this is the scene from Death Note where Light is like really intently writing in his notebook, like from all angles. Like that's the whole first episode. It's like so many super dramatic shots of stuff that is not dramatic at all. And so many dumb nightmare moments and everything.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
Yes, exactly. That's this show, and I'm really happy that it's that. So because otherwise, that would not be a premise that would keep me interested. But yeah, this seems to be like it's gonna make the trash stash for our reviews next season. So yeah, looking forward to that. Anyway, what's the next show you want to talk about?
I actually think the rest of the stuff I'm looking at is all is crossover between us as well. So
yeah,
the next one is Kakegurui. So Hyakao Academy is this very prestigious school, but unlike many schools that are known for their athletics or their academics or other such achievements, this one is known for its students basically being compulsive gamblers. A lot of the students consider themselves to be like top tier high rollers and, you know, look at all the money I have to throw around. When one day this young lady named Yumeko Jabami transfers in, and she has an obsession with gambling that far exceeds pretty much any of the other characters we've seen in the first couple episodes, and she basically sees through all the cheatsy ways that they have and shows them what, you know, a real high roller is like. And also she's fucking crazy, so
yeah. She says that she hates like boring games, you know, a game where she knows that she will win or a game where she knows that she will definitely lose. So she is always going for the high risk games where there's like the slight possibility that she can win, even if it's really difficult. And yeah, like you said, she is super crazy. When stuff gets really interesting, she gets super turned on.
Yeah,
I mean, well, that's fine. I mean, the show is really like going into the like weird face direction, like all the characters get like these really crazy, weird, sometimes turn on faces when they like do like these really crazy moves and are on the verge of winning and everything. And yeah,
I think that's actually really cool just to see, you know, when they start acting crazy, that there's this amazing distortion in their expressions, and that just, I think that's really neat. Also, the voice actress for Yumeko, we've talked about Saori Hayami a few times in the past, but I never knew she could act the way she does in this show, and it's amazing.
Yeah, she has a lot of fun with that role.
Like, she just flies off the handle. Like, I've never heard such a menacing delivery of a one-word line before.
She usually plays like these more...
like much more cool, composed characters.
Composed, like very polite, kind, right?
And then you get her being like, "Hi," and it's like, "Whoa."
Yeah, she really gets to fly off the handle in this show, and it's a lot of fun to watch. I mean, if you have a problem with sometimes really ugly ugly. It's a sense of perspective and everything, but, you know, really, like John mentioned, really distorted faces and characters like the eyes bulging out of the heads and everything, and their mouths like contorted to a really, really evil grin and everything. Maybe stay away if you have a problem with that. If you know, like we get a kick out of that and think that's fun and, you know, interesting to see something like that on an anime.
Yeah, I mean, it's not without purpose, so.
Yeah, exactly. And it's fun. I wonder where it goes. I don't know yet.
Yeah, I mean, it's based off of a manga, and I don't know much, if anything, about it, so I'm curious to see what happens.
It seems to be kind of like a tournament setup where she, like, she's gonna face off, like, you know, against the student council, like, you know, in Kill la Kill or something, and she's gonna battle them one by one, and that's probably how the show is gonna play out. But I hope we'll you know, learn more about her character and why she is the way she is, and learn more about the other crazy characters. And yeah, it's interesting. It's different.
So what do you have next for us?
The next show I checked out is Made in the Abyss, or Made in Abyss, sorry. So yeah, this is about a young girl named Riko who lives in a town that is basically built around a giant hole in the ground called the Abyss. So Riko is in training to be a cave raider, not Tomb Raider. Close enough though, because cave raiders are descending to the different layers of the Abyss. You know, each like section of the Abyss has like basically a different ring and, you know, different kind of cave system and everything and different kind of monsters and stuff. And they go there to discover hidden artifacts and treasures and technology. So one day Riko, while saving her classmate, is herself rescued by a young boy named Regu, who turns out to be a robot and who has no memories of where he came from and who he is and, you know, why he's a robot and everything and who built him. So together they embark on a journey to find the secrets behind Rigo's origin and to get to the bottom of the Abyss and the mysteries that it harbors. So yeah, I love the first episode of this. This is like a really cool adventure anime, like with a neat setup and cool characters. A pretty unique design sensibility. The character designs themselves look a bit cartoonish. It looks interesting. I really like the setup and the characters and the visuals of the show. It's like, man, the environments are fucking stunning. In a lot of the scenes. It's already such a beautifully crafted world, and just like Riko, I can't wait to find out where it all leads. It's definitely one of my must-watch shows for this season. Like, I was really looking forward to it when I saw like the first artwork from it and the first trailer and everything. I was like, man, this looks up my alley. Like, I love a good adventure anime, and this is like a really interesting setting, a really interesting world, and yeah, so. It delivered on all the expectations I had for it, and yeah, good stuff, really good stuff, really interesting cast of characters, really interesting world, and I really want to see really great animation, really great visuals. In my opinion, if you still searching for a show to check out this season, I think this is one of the ones you should take a look at, dear listeners. Anyway, next show you picked, John.
Well, this wasn't a show that I really picked, but more piqued my curiosity when others were talking about it. I think I know you know what show it is.
Yes.
It is a show whose title includes some rogue punctuation.
Yeah.
What show could it be other than Knights and Magic? It doesn't need the apostrophe. Why is it there? Why is it there? Tsubasa Kurata is a genius programmer and a huge robotics nerd. He obsessively collects and builds model robots in his free time until one day when he dies in a car accident. And he awakens in a parallel world in the body of this young boy, Ernesti Echevalier. Okay, so Ernesti is the son of a pilot of this type of magical construct called a silhouette knight. It's not a robot. So
it looks like a robot, though.
Silhouette knights are akin to giant robots, and when Kurata, now Ernesti, refers to them as such, the people around him, they don't know what the hell he's talking about. What's a robot?
Yeah.
But seeing as he's been ostensibly reborn in this world where he can live out his dream of becoming a robot pilot, he makes it his life's goal to study as much magic as he can and to get proficient and become a silhouette knight pilot so he can follow in the footsteps of his now father. And it kind of works for what it is because of who the character is and his standing. Why would it be irregular for him to pursue this goal? And yet at the same time, it's kind of like, you remember that one scene in Sword Art Online where Kirito's like, I know how to hack this. I mean, except
why do you know though, Kirito? Why do you know that? Because you played the fucking online game for fucking, I don't know, every day of your life? Why do you know how to hack then?
I have been playing games for 28, 29 years, and in spite of studying computer science for about 3 or 4 years, I still can't program or code worth a shit. However, I feel like I'm willing to give this slightly more of a pass because, he was a programmer in his previous life, but the thing is, how much overlap is there between magic and science?
Well, apparently, according to this show, it's the fucking same. So
much.
No, it's like I know how this works. And he's really adept at learning magic because
I'm in.
He kind of creates new spells because I know how this works because I, programmed shit and this is how programming works and so this is how magic works. And I'm like, what?
It's like,
get out.
It's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, this is the most blatant.
This is trash stash material.
Yeah, probably. It's the most blatant isekai self-insert power fantasy, with the possibly flimsiest premise of all time. The beginning of the show is basically what Konosuba made fun of in its first episode. Mm-hmm. So, it's a lot of dumb fun.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's stupid, but I feel like it could be something fun. I don't know if I'll see it through to the end, but we'll find out. Like
I said before, the visuals are good in this show. The action choreography and everything looks really cool. Even, for a show that has CGI mix, I'm not a fan of, that, but how he jumps around in his silhouette night and everything, it looks cool. He does some pretty cool stuff. So yeah, the monster designs I need. It's a good looking show, and like I said, it's got pretty much a breakneck pace. It doesn't waste much time, I feel like. Yeah,
they kind of they rushed us out the door in the first episode, but I feel like that's very respectful of the audience to be like, you don't need to watch him growing up. You know what's going to happen. So we'll just go for a few years. No big deal, right?
Though it begs the question, he apparently has all the memories from his previous life. And he has them starting from being a little boy. Wouldn't that bring its own set of problems with it? Where he's okay, I don't want to stay in this constricted life right now because I know so much more. He has to learn all the new stuff with magic and about this new world, but it feels like that would have been maybe interesting to see him cope with that and everything. But like you said, they gloss over it for the sake of pacing and getting to the action parts and to the stuff where he's actually capable of already performing, his great feats of of magic and everything.
I kind of feel like maybe it's just the way I interpreted it, but it seemed kind of like they're playing it off like he has enough of his memory to be oh man, robots, more than, oh, this is who I was previously.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe they'll come into conflict later on.
Yeah,
I somehow doubt it, but I guess we'll see.
I hope we get an actually interesting story along the way. Maybe some other people from our world who died will come into this world, and then, I don't know, clash of the super genius programmers. Who knows? Right now, it's a fun action rom with, your typical self-insert power fantasy guy who all the ladies fawn over. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. So, if you are already, tuned out once we mentioned that, don't give that show a chance. But if you're interested in light action, maybe check it out. It's fun.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I think, John, you can bring up the next two shows because we both watched them.
All right.
And I think you maybe got written down more on them than I did.
I have more written about one of them than the other, but... So the next up is Fate Apocrypha. We're up... my light novel count is now up to 3. I don't know what yours is at.
Oh, I haven't counted. I don't dare count.
So Fate Apocrypha takes place in an alternate storyline in the Fate universe where the 4th Holy Grail War, Fate Zero, never takes place, and the story kind of takes place around the same time as the 5th war, Fate Stay Night, would have happened. So that's basically, the time frame and the way they shifted the universe out a bit, just to give, an idea. Because at first I wasn't entirely certain about it myself, so I had to do research.
Oh no!
The Fate, the Type Moon Wikia is very helpful. So
probably one of the most extensive wikias out there.
considering how many servants there are now, thanks to Fate Grand Order.
Yeah.
So basically, the Yigd clan, it's a hard name to say, have basically kind of brute forced their way into taking the Holy Grail from themselves and have seceded from the Mages Association. And when the association sends like 50 of their top magi to retrieve the Grail, all but one of them are slaughtered by a certain Lancer-class servant. The last remaining magi activates this reserve system that the Grail never apparently had before, which allows for 14 servants to be summoned at once instead of 7. And thus begins the Greater Grail War, where two factions of masters and servants, classified as red, those who are aligned with the Mages Association, and those who are classified as black, the members of the Yigd clan, fight for control of the Grail. And they kind of haven't really touched on it in the anime so far, but there's also a 15th servant that is summoned of the ruler class that basically acts as a administrator for the battles. So we'll see how...
Which in this case is Jeanne d'Arc, I believe.
Mm-hmm. I will say that this is the first series where I think they've really extensively talked about the Clock Tower, which is basically the Mages Association headquarters. And also they seem to be playing this may have happened. No, I think Fate Grand Order started after Apocrypha did. But it seems like ever since then, they've kind of started to play a little fast and loose with the servants' true names. So there's not as much mystery, but
no, they some of them they just outright tell you, like they ask each other, "What's the name of your servant?" And they're like, "Okay, this is my name. This is my name."
Yeah.
Some of them say, "Don't tell them," and
that was the point of the Grail War. Oh, I don't know what this servant is. I don't know what its noble phantasm is. Oh wait, your servant is bleh. I already know what it's gonna do.
Yeah, but I guess it's like I don't know. It's interesting. Like one of the main servants, Saber class from the red side of things, immediately comes out and just proclaims her name and title and everything. And it's like, okay, this is a different kind of Fate show. Just in general, Apocrypha has a much more fun and lighter feel to it than Stay Night and especially Zero had. Where especially Zero was a very dark and brooding shows with a very serious tone and some really interesting philosophical ideas and everything. It was written by Gen Urobuchi, and that showed and was really, really dark and interesting. And this is more like this has more like the feel of a lighthearted action fest in the beginning, at least, than the other shows did. And I think I appreciate that. Like, I think Shishigo and Mordred, are pretty much our two main characters, are a great lead duo, and they're really fun together. Like, they're pretty much instantly they're on the same wavelength, and know how to battle as a tag team and everything, and understand each other. And it's just that's just refreshing if you are familiar with the other Fate franchise incarnations, where rarely the servants and the masters get along very well from the beginning, and it's nice to see those two characters just immediately hit it off and just be a fun, I don't know, buddy cop duo, whatever. I just really like that, and it's fun. It's really fun. It's really well animated. I really, really like the show so far. And the 7 versus 7 battle gives the whole thing a new spin and got more interesting characters and probably more interesting battles on the horizon. It just seems to me right now that the black, the Igdemilian clan seems a bit overpowered. Like, they got Siegfried, Frankenstein's monster, and Dracula on their side.
Yeah.
It's like, what does the other side have besides Mordred? They got Spartacus, I think. And the rest, I don't know. And I mean, Jeanne d'Arc is only supposed to be apparently a judge or something, or a referee. And yeah, I don't know. We'll see how that turns out. But so far, it seems like the black side has the winning hand. We'll see.
Well, I think it's because it seems to me anyway, like the the black side are much more unified in, calling out their servants, whereas with the Mages Association, it's like, yeah, here's an artifact you can use, hope you summon something good, and it's like,
Yeah, black side seems much more organized.
But yeah, I mean, I am a total whore for all things Fate, so I'm sure I'll watch it to the end.
I'm pretty sure I keep with the two. I watched the last two Fate series from beginning to end. I didn't like Fate Stay Night as much as I liked Fate Zero, but it was still a better adaptation than the Studio Dean version, and I enjoyed most of that show. Well, except for the ending, maybe. But yeah, this looks, just in terms of tone, this looks like it's a much different show. And I don't expect it to go into a dark brooding place. It just seems like this is going to be a good-looking, action-packed, just fantasy battle show, and I'm up for that.
Yeah. It's good to have one of those every once in a while.
I believe we have arrived at the last show.
We have.
All right, let's go.
And it is, we have to get the full name in there. Senki Zesshō Symphogear Axis. By shedding many tears, the reality you face is ... Because every Symphogear series has had, its own unique subtitle, and why should you ever stop?
We fucked up a bit. We wanted to do a review episode where we talk about the first 3 seasons of Symphogear, since this is the first one. We haven't done that. We will do that before we do the review of this season, probably. I don't know if we would do it in the form of a special, or if we would just, do the review of the first 3 seasons and then say, okay, cutoff point from this one, from this moment on, we'll talk about the 4th season and thus spoils parts of the first 3 seasons. I don't know how we're going to do that yet. I haven't decided that yet. I haven't even talked to John about that yet.
Yeah, but we don't have a game plan.
Yeah, but it's coming. So, anyway, yeah, Symphogear, the 4th season. Yes. What is Symphogear, John?
Well, I guess I'll just give the broad overview as best I can.
Yeah.
So, Symphogear follows this young girl, Hibiki Tachibana, and if we go all the way back to the very beginning, she was attending a concert where these two ladies, Kanade and Tsubasa, what was their names? Vi-Wing, they called themselves?
Yeah.
They were putting on this concert when suddenly everyone there is attacked by these creatures called the Noise.
Mm-hmm.
Kanade and Tsubasa suit up in these magical powered armors called Symphogear that are basically fueled by them singing. When basically
greetings from Macross.
Yeah, a little bit. Except it's more than in Macross. It seems like pretty much every song is essentially a battle hymn.
Yes, which makes it super great.
Yeah. So, not really a spoiler since it happens in the very first episode. Kanade dies trying to protect Hibiki from the Noise, and basically. The way the girls transform is they have like these gems, and part of the gem shards end up in Hibiki's body, and she ends up being able to harness the power because these shards are now embedded inside herself. Mm-hmm. So she kind of takes up the mantle that Kanade left behind, and she has to earn Tsubasa's trust, and there's that
a lot happens.
Lots of different things happen. The long and short is action, music, lesbians, lots of lesbians.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, in the first episode of the new series, one of the characters tells Hibiki and her not girlfriend, wink, wink, to get a room. So there you go.
It's weird. It's like the show is not fully committing to outright, saying, okay, these characters are in a relationship. It's kind of like the Yuri on Ice thing. I don't know why it doesn't bother me so much in Symphogear, probably because the focus is not on that. Like, where in Yuri on Ice, the focus is very much on the relationship and everything of the two main characters. in Symphogear, that is not the focus at all. The focus is the fucking ridiculous action from beginning to end. And man, that's where that show shines so brightly.
Symphogear is bombastic and great, and I love it. I love it so much. I think you came to the game a little later than I did, but when the second series, G, was about to start, I was like, I've been kind of sitting on the first series for a while. Maybe I'll finally watch it. And I was like, why didn't I watch this sooner? It's great. And then I watched G as it was airing, and I've been trying to stay as current as I can ever since.
Yeah.
So then after this season, there's another one.
Yeah, they announced 2 new seasons at the same time, which made both John and me incredibly happy. Studio Satellite saving anime. If you are kinda, I don't know, put off by the song thing, maybe, because oh no, if they're singing all the time, that's boring. Trust me, it's not. Like John already mentioned, those songs are battle hymns in every possible aspect. Like the characters when they sing to transform, like they sing a small hymn, like a small verse to transform, and then you get like this like really elaborate tokusatsu / magical girl transformation, and then like shit goes crazy. Like you get people manifesting giant swords that are as big as fucking airships.
Yeah.
In the first episode of this season, you get they get new equipment on their armor and just, I don't know, fucking super laser beams everywhere. It's like fly through the sky, and it's just crazy shit, over the top. Almost every fucking episode. Like, I mean, the animation dips a bit here and there, but it's never so noticeable that it's like that it's really like detracts from the enjoyment of the show or anything. Mm. But the action choreography is so fucking good in this show. Like, in like really none of the seasons, like, maybe story-wise, some seasons are better than others, but like action-wise, they're consistently good. Like the action in Symphogear is action choreography in Symphogear is probably some of the best in the biz, with another show that we're going to talk about in a few moments. But it's just like there's so many highlight moments and great characters. They're all really enjoyable. Hibiki is like this really interesting lead, and she is like an unusual singing voice because it's like kind of raspy. And there's also a great thing. We shouldn't like take all that stuff away from our actual review, but I have to mention that it's also a great thing that these characters, they're not like singing perfectly and then fighting at the same time. They sometimes miss their notes and stuff like that because they're so they like, this is a really harrowing battle and everything, so you can't sing perfectly if you like are fighting fucking sound aliens. So yeah,
I love that while they're singing, like sometimes they'll like spike on a note when they're like going in for an attack, like and it's like yes,
there's a really lot of emotion in that show and really great like fists in the air and hurrah moments. So yeah, it's great stuff. So definitely, it's sadly Symphogear so far hasn't picked up by any of the fucking streaming services.
Well, Axis hasn't been, but hopefully.
Yeah.
I've been kind of tweeting at Crunchyroll, like, when Symphogear, though. And at one point, Miles Express, he says, yeah, guys, I know you want it, and I'm hoping we got it. And looking back, they actually got GX a couple of weeks late, so maybe this weekend they'll be able to announce it, hopefully.
Okay, we'll see. But yeah, if you haven't checked it out yet, might as well start at the first season. Like I said, action-wise, they are consistently good. And if you start with this one, you might get lost in all the characters because there have been a lot of characters added to the cast since the first season. But just in terms of enjoyment, I think you will get enjoyment if you start with this season. It's just you're missing out on a lot of good stuff. So yeah, definitely. We're going to talk about Symphogear again eventually. But yeah, so far this new season is promising to be just as good as the previous ones, and yeah, definitely looking forward to more Symphogear.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's time for our first review of Spring Season 2017. So let's move out of this giant ass sneak peek and get to that review. At the beginning of Attack on Titan, humanity is in a bad place. It has been reduced to a small number by the giant beings called Titans. Humans now live in an area enclosed by 3 enormous walls that protect them from the dangerous creatures roaming the lands. One day, a colossal titan appears right at the edge of one of the walls and breaks one of its gates, which enables a giant flock of titans to invade the town of Shiganshina, the hometown of our main protagonist, Eren Yeager, his foster sister Mikasa Ackerman, and their friend Armin Alert. When Eren's mother is killed in front of his eyes, he swears revenge, and he and his friends decide to join the military and become part of the Survey Corps, who battle the Titans with their steam-powered 3D maneuver gear. Together, they try to defy the overwhelming danger of the Titans, and in the course are bound to discover a lot of hidden truths out and inside the walls that are supposed to protect them. If you haven't heard of Attack on Titan up to this point and you are an anime fan, then you probably have been without internet for a long time or living under a rock or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of those series that's like, if you haven't heard of it, if you're in the anime circles and you haven't heard of it, I question what you've been up to.
In case you have just heard of, it, haven't seen it, we will give you a broad overview over Attack on Titan and our thoughts on it. For this one, even though, the second season just aired, but we don't want to go into spoilers just yet. We will do that in our review of the third season, which has already been announced for 2018. But we still want to give you a chance to catch up if what you hear in this review interests you and for some reason you haven't checked out the series yet and, don't want to take some of the big revelations away from you already. Before we talk about some of the major story developments that happened in the first and especially in the second season, let's get into the basic thing that is Attack on Titan. So, this is based on a manga by Hajime Isayama. He started with it in 2009, and this is his first and only work so far, and it was a breakout hit. The anime adaptation was done by Studio Wit, which is made up of former Production IG members. The show is directed by Tetsuro Araki, who was probably most well-known for High School of the Dead before this. We mentioned him before because he also did Guilty Crown and Cavalry of the Iron Fortress. The latter we have already reviewed in episode 13 of our show. Those are maybe not shows with the best stories, but generally really appealing in terms of visuals and especially in terms of action direction.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it back when we reviewed Cabaneri, but I feel like Araki was like, yeah, I want to do that too. And it was what it was. Yeah. But also in Cabaneri, the action looked really good. That is true. And generally, visuals. I think visually, Cabaneri was probably even a bit more appealing than Attack on Titan. Because while the anime of Attack on Titan looks good, compared to the manga, the manga designs are really rough. Really strange and rough. And, in the beginning, the first season doesn't look good all the way through as well. But, they really polished up the designs for the anime adaptation. But still, I think Cabaneri, in terms of its design sensibilities and everything, and the way they choose to, what they wanted to go for, which was more like a kind of an older 80s anime feel, it looked better. I also feel like Cabaneri had a few more splashes of color that Attack on Titan doesn't. Attack on Titan is not necessarily a drab show, but it feels more like it has more of an earthy tone, and it's not as bright and colorful as Cabaneri was. That's true. But yeah, generally very appealing in terms of visuals, like I said, and especially in terms of action direction, which is also fantastic in Attack on Titan, and probably on the surface the big draw of the show. There are a lot of amazing tracking shots of soldiers using their maneuver gear to basically fly over cities. I mean, they're using these hooks that they where they attach themselves to buildings and trees and everything. But just in terms of visuals, it looks like those people like they are flying. But there's a lot of weight behind it. You see that their body are anchored to this gear, and they have to lean into it
to like get for like a bit Spider-Man-ish maybe. So yeah, they fly through like these city streets and between trees and buildings and use like their sword-like weapons to fight the Titans and cut like out pieces of their neck, which is pretty much only the only weak point of the Titans. Like I said, there are a few rough spots in both seasons, but when it counts, man, the show delivers some truly astounding action fireworks, like especially in the second season. There's some outstanding moments and some really good use of CG in certain parts, which I didn't expect.
Yeah.
It's like there's like this one scene, I won't give too much away, don't worry, but where they basically use like a CG version of a Titan, which in itself wouldn't look so good, but since this is a very slow moving Titan and everything, they can like use that CG to give more freedom to the camera, and so you got like these really long tracking shots of the scouts using their the Symphogear people using their maneuver gear to fly around the Titan and like run on parts of his bodies and everything. It's like this really wild camera and everything. It looks really good. So yeah, really, really cool show in terms of action choreography. No complaints there whatsoever. The story is also pretty cool. There are a lot of mysteries set up in the beginning of the first season. Like the origin of the Titans, the whereabouts of Eren's father, who the irregular Titans are that seem to have like these special abilities and everything. It's got kind of a Lost vibe to it in that way, like that there are a lot of questions opened up in the beginning, and every time we get some answers, there's a whole bunch of new mysteries thrown at us. I think you said, John, when the second season started, it was like the first episode, when you watched the first episode, I already have so many questions.
I forget how many episodes in when I said it. I was like, I have way more questions than answers.
Yeah, and that's kind of how the show starts. And, you know, like I said, you get some answers, but then you get a lot of new questions. But different from us, the rate at which we get answers in general is a lot higher, I think. Like, the pacing in the first season is a bit slow at times, but around the last third, there are a lot of revelations. And especially the second season drops a lot of out-of-nowhere bombshells on our head. And it's like, okay, this is what this was all about. Okay, this is how this all happened. Oh, okay. And we get eventually get a lot of answers. Like I said, especially the second season delivers on a lot of those promises and, interesting answers. Again, new questions, but you always get out of certain episodes being satisfied because some of your most pressing questions have been answered, and even if there are new ones on the horizon, you get the feeling like, okay, they have already answered all of this stuff. They're going to answer those questions too. So it's like, all right, and those answers were satisfying. So maybe the answers to the other questions will be satisfying as well. So that's how the story keeps you always engaged because, this is mostly an action show, but it's also a mystery show. And yeah, speaking of the second season, there was a long break between the first and second season, so that the manga could get ahead far enough in the story so that there didn't have to be filler and everything. Did you find it hard to get back into Titan after all this time? I don't know. Did you watch the first season when it aired, or?
When it aired, yeah. Honestly, I feel like I was able to just kind of jump right back into it. I mean, I feel like there were a couple of things that I probably should have gone back and rewatched the first season for, but I mean, I will say this. They didn't waste our time with like any stupid recap bullshit or anything like that. I think Isayama has more respect for his audience than most other creators do. So he was just like, here we go. Let's go. Get moving. You're going to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I don't know how, I haven't read the manga, and I don't know how much they shifted around certain events to make them flow better in the anime. I think they did some of that, if I remember some of the comments in regarding to the second season correctly and everything. Definitely, like the second season hits the ground running. Like, it's really, okay, the first season stopped here, let's get right back into that, right to that like moment that opened up a new question and try to answer this and, deliver on that and everything. So it's like, okay, if you haven't watched any of Titan before, you will be completely lost.
Yeah, you won't know what the hell's going on. Honestly, I hope they do it with the third season next year, just to keep the momentum going.
I'm pretty sure they will. I think Hero Academia did pretty much the same thing, right?
Yeah.
With the second season. It looks like very, very short recap, and then immediately we go to the next thing. And that's good. Like, no time wasted. I mean, new stuff, that's what we came for. And if we want to watch the old stuff, we can always go back and watch it on whatever, on Crunchyroll or on Blu-ray, on DVD, whatever. So, that was really good. I feel like I had a bit of a problem remembering what, certain characters did in the last big moment of the first season. It's like, okay, how much do these characters know about certain things? That was my only problem, where it's like, okay, do they know that what happened to that person and that and that and that? Because were they there? Were they not? But that, became pretty clear later on, right? And so I didn't have too much trouble. Another thing I wanted to ask you specifically is, how did you deal with the gory nature of Attack on Titan? Because I know you were, at least before, a bit squeamish when it came to gory stuff. And I think Attack on Titan, besides JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, is one of the shows that kind of made you, I don't know, gave you a harder shell in that regard.
I mean, when there's really gory stuff, I'm still a little bit, but I feel like I can kind of handle it. Like, I want to know what the story is, so I just kind of take it as it comes.
Yeah, like, it's too engaging to constantly look away.
Like, I mean, there's certain biting parts that sort of put me off a little bit, but again, it's part of the story. I just kind of was like, all right, okay, I can deal with this.
Yeah, just to be clear, the Titans don't just kill people, they eat them. Like, we are food for them. That's also part of the first opening song.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the opening song's fucking great. Like, I loved all of them. I know you are not that big of a fan of the newest one, but I
feel like the very first intro was the strongest of the lot. The second one was pretty good too, but I mean, there's that part of the first intro where they start flashing the lyrics on the screen with these hard cuts between different images, and I was like, okay, that's cool.
And that opening has been memed to death.
Oh yeah,
there have been a lot of knockoffs been made with with that opening and that music and that style, just with other shows and other pieces of pop culture and everything. So that was entertaining. So yeah, definitely. I also like the newest one. I thought I really like where it gets slow in the middle and then it really gets pumping at the very end and delivers some stuff, some promises that haven't been fulfilled yet, just in terms of what happens in the show, because there's some scenes happening at the very end of the opening, and we don't really see that in the second season, and it's like, okay, that's weird. But still, I hope there isn't too big of a spoiler from the opening, and it's not going to take too long for the show to get there, but we'll see. Apparently the ending to the second season was much more spoilery if you know what to look for. So that's why I skipped it. It was also really weird.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea either. I mean, I watched it once, and then a couple of our friends were saying that, so I think we both made the conscious decision to avoid it. Yeah,
just I want to find out about. It's not like that I don't want to find out about that stuff, but first I want to try, to unravel the mysteries myself. And if I don't manage to, I want the show to tell me at its own pace, and don't want to, learn about it by a freak accident by watching the ending theme animation. That would be dumb.
Maybe after the next season, we could go back and rewatch it and be oh, blah, 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 whatever it might be, because we don't know. Since we have not read the manga, sorry, we don't know.
Yeah, I always try to go anime first. I mean, I like reading manga, but I'm way too into the presentation aspect of anime, how the advantage to a manga that it has in that regard with voice acting, with music, with actual animation and everything. And, you know, the showstopper moments are just, if they are done well, and they are in Attack on Titan, they look so much more impressive in anime than they do in manga. And if the price for that is, you know, to wait a bit longer to get the rest of the story and maybe risk a few spoilers here and there, I'm willing to wait just to see firsthand the story develop in anime form. It's just like that.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to start reading the manga after the first series because, you know, we didn't know how long it was going to be between. Yeah. And a friend of ours was like, "You're going to wait." And I was like, "Ah." So then after this season, he was like, "Would you have enjoyed it as much if you had read it?" And I was like, I guess you're right.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's talk quickly about the characters. I like our main trio a lot. I love that Mikasa is the muscle. I mean, Armin was naturally always destined to be the brain of the three, but it's great that at least initially Mikasa is like the one who always has to protect and save Eren because she's just better at fighting and stronger than him, and it's just an interesting decision. And I also like Eren's development. Like, he starts out as your typical brash, hothead shonen hero, but eventually he realizes he's in over his head. And I feel he really changes from like being this single-minded driven character into someone who uses his brain more and is not always just hooray into the fray and shit like that. So that's cool. And
I mean, only somewhat. I mean, I kind of, and this is just me, I feel like a lot of the characters are one-trick ponies. I don't dislike them, but I don't feel, maybe it's because of where we are in the story, I feel like I haven't seen a lot of change throughout the cast.
Yeah, maybe. I feel Eren has like changed more just in terms of behavior, especially in this, during the course of the second season, because you expect him to react when he finds out certain things in a certain way, and then he doesn't, and is much more controlled than I expected him to be, and how he behaved before, and it was like a really nice surprise. Trying to control the situation and everything. And I like the family dynamic of the three main characters, and maybe even the Cervicore in general, like, and all the problems that brings with it later on and everything. It just, like you said, the character, the focus is much more on the story development itself, but the characters are interesting enough to keep me going, and I think they're not unlikable, at least not most of them. I mean, Levi starts off as an asshole, kinda, because you don't know what he's about and everything, and he is like kind of, this violent ass and everything, or that's how he comes across. But it becomes pretty clear that there's a heart buried deep underneath his hard shell and everything. And he also got his own origin story in form of an OVA, which is also pretty dope. And I checked that out, and that's cool too. So yeah, and he's also, besides Mikasa, pretty much the most badass fight scenes in the first season and everything. So yeah, I like the character roster. It's interesting, and I think it gets more interesting in the second season. They get away a bit more from your standard shonen archetypes in that than they did in the first season, in my opinion. And yeah, speaking of that, did you enjoy the first or second season better? I mean, the second season has a better pacing, I would say, but it's only 12 episodes, and the first is 25.
I feel like, now that I'm thinking about it, the second season, just because you're right about the pacing, and some of the revelations were incredible. I don't know, there was something about that I don't dislike the first season. It was a good introduction and whatnot. But then, when they started really hitting hard with a lot of the shit in the second season, I was like, yo!
Mm-hmm. Shit gets real. Yeah, some big answers coming your way. If you watch the first season, it was like, man, that was too vague for me, and I didn't get enough answers. Trust me, watch the second season. There's a lot of big moments coming your way. I mean, it's been 4 years between the two seasons, so I guess I can understand it if some people like dropped off and like lost interest after it took them so long to deliver the second season. But I would still say it's really worth to check back with that show, even if you think, oh man, I've forgotten too much. I mean, just rewatch the first season. I mean,
there's also the compilation movies, right?
Yeah, sure. I haven't checked those out. Those are, often those are hit and miss. I don't know how good they are in case of Attack on Titan. But yeah, if you don't have the time to watch the full first season and you want to catch up, check out the compilation movies. That's a good recommendation.
I also like that Isayama outwardly said, we're waiting, I'm waiting for the manga to get further ahead so that we don't have to waste your time with filler or recap or that. And again, I like that he's respecting the audience that way.
Yeah. Very good choice. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to more Attack on Titan. I've heard the next arc in the manga, which we're probably going to hit with the next anime season, is probably just in terms of, I don't know, just story development the weakest, which is a bit of a downer, of course. But maybe they will make it more interesting by, again, mixing things up a bit with the adaptation. Maybe we'll get more episodes with the next season again to make up for that with a stronger second half. I don't know.
Well, going back to our two friends again, they were saying that in the preview video that they dropped after the second season ended, that there were scenes in there that imply season 3 is going to be a bit longer. So it might be going back to like 24, 25 episodes. So that, because there are things that they showed off that happen after the arc that is coming up immediately. So that hopefully means good things.
So yeah, Attack on Titan is a really engaging and fun extra. Well, fun, sometimes really depressing and horrifying.
yeah, fun.
But yeah, really engaging overall. Cool story, definitely really impressive action beats and everything. We'll hopefully get all of the answers eventually, and I hope they will be as satisfying as they were until now. I don't know. But the show right now is thrilling enough to make me want to find out for myself. I think, John, it's the same for you.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to more of it.
So yeah, if you haven't checked out, for whatever reason, if you haven't checked out Attack on Titan yet, please do. The first season is really good. The second season in parts is even better, in my opinion. Definitely. Attack on Titan, one of the breakout hits in the past years, and I'd say rightfully so. And that is a wrap on the 33rd episode of Anime Brain Freeze. All the music in our show is from the Double Dragon Neon soundtrack by the amazing Jake Kaufman. Please go to vit.bandcamp.com and check out his awesome work. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and animebrainfreeze.com. Leave us comments and questions any way you like, or send an email to animebrainfreeze@gmail.com. We would love to read your feedback. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had a good time, and please join us again on our next show. Macht's gut!
See you later. Next time on Anime Brain Freeze.
The tragic comedy continues with a lackluster adaptation of an unintentionally stiff black swordsman.
And an on-the-side story of dungeon traversal.